Maggie got to come and visit. And a couple weeks before she came, I called my mom, because I live in Texas, and I called her and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm studying for my driver's license test." And I just out of reaction said, "What for?" And as soon as I said it, I felt really bad. But she said, "Well, you never know what might happen." And so she went on her birthday, on her 70th birthday, my aunt took her, and she went with her oxygen and her walker and walked into the DMV. When you just walked out, if you were in there with your 16-year-old, said, "Forget it, never mind." And she walked in and they gave her a license, so she went in and got her new driver's license. So we have a picture of her, you can see it on Facebook, with her driver's license that she got on her 70th birthday, and she was very proud.
My mom was spunky, sharp, creative, energetic, and spontaneous, mixed with caring, giving, committed, honest, trustworthy, and most of all, devoted. I was born with a kidney defect, and because of this, I had years of fevers, infections, doctor's appointments, and surgeries, along with a lot of late nights, and my mom was there for every bit. She would give me pep talks while I swallowed horse pills and explain what the doctors and nurses had to do to me to help me not be afraid. She would get up in the middle of the night, call the doctor, give me a cold bath to lower my fever, and tell me how sorry she was for putting me in the cold water. She would tell me many times, "I wish I could take this for you," and I always knew she meant it. She would spend the night with me in the hospital, sleep in a hard chair, and never leave my side. She spent hours rubbing my head with a cool cloth and would go back to the sink to make the cloth a little colder, over and over with tired eyes. Every time we checked out of the hospital, she took me out for my favorite lunch. She gave for years, and through all of her selfless giving, Karen, Kim, and I always knew she would go to the ends of the earth for us, and she did it with a smile on her face. We have a lifetime of memories to carry with us and pass on to our own children. And until we meet you again, Mom, thank you for giving.
As we were sitting around trying to decide which stories to share today, the one story that all of us agreed that we needed to be told was the one I'm getting ready to share. My mom was very giving. We're realizing as we talk things through how much she obviously gave to us, but she gave to others. And there was a particular family that, a single mom with some children that didn't have much, and it was obvious for the holidays, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, that they weren't going to celebrate like many of us get to. So Mom would load us up in the car and we'd go to the grocery store, and she would buy food for them, but she didn't just buy canned goods. She said, "I want them to have a meal." So she would buy a bunch of groceries and usually get Coke and just special things that they probably didn't normally get to have that would be a treat. And in the darkness of night, we would go over and drop those things off at their front porch. And I don't remember if we rang a doorbell, knocked on the door, what we did, but we ran for our lives and got in the car. And I remember Mom saying, "Don't you ever tell." And just, you didn't want that family to make them feel bad. You just wanted to be a blessing. And so she would randomly do that. Thanksgiving, Christmas, but then other times throughout the year. And really, Mom could have told us, and she probably did, that we need to be giving, sharing people. But just by doing that, that taught us a lot more than her telling us to be giving could have ever taught us. And it's just it's been a story that we've remembered, all of us, forever, and it has impacted our lives. Another thing that's just precious to us is I had been listening to a sermon by an evangelist. I kind of get stuck on one thing and listen to something 50 times. But I was listening to this sermon and he was preaching on the first few verses of Psalm 34. And it's "Bless the Lord at all times" is the first verse in that chapter. And as Mom her cancer had come back, one of the things they had told us is that within a short period of time she would very likely be a quadriplegic because of the cancer in her bones and such. And as I was listening to those sermons on Psalm 34 over and over, I finally started reading the whole chapter. And at the end of that chapter, there's a verse in it that talks about God protecting our bones. And I'm like, wow, that was just really, that verse probably wouldn't have meant as much to me other than what my mom was going through at that time. So Mom was in Texas, and Karen and Kathy were caring for her, and I had called her, and I said, "Mom, why don't we start reading that chapter?" I shared with her kind of what I just shared with you, and why don't we start reading that chapter through every day, and then we can start memorizing it. And So she thought that was a good idea, and at that time she was pretty weak. And at 9:30 at night, I get a phone call. Well, I never got a call from Mom at 9:30 at night. She had been asleep for a few hours by then, and so I was kind of concerned. I answer the phone, and her voice is real weak and puny, and I'm like, "Hi, Mom, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, and would it be okay if we read that chapter twice a day?" Yeah, that'd be great. And so through that, all of us ended up, as our families, memorizing Psalm 34 together. And we had some really difficult times over the last 4 years, a lot of precious times, but through it all, we could always say, "Bless the Lord at all times." This isn't all times. And it was really just, it's a precious chapter to our family as we did that together. The last thing.
Can I say one more
Sure.
thing first? Some of you know more of our history with Mom's disease, but I'll just give you a little bit of it because I think it's important and I think it says a lot about her. She was first diagnosed with breast cancer about 13 years ago. And almost a year to the day later, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. So we went through all of that, and then everything got better for a good long time. And then about 6 years ago, my doctors thought that I had cancer again. And Mom came down like she always did to take care of me. And I remember her saying, "I wish it was me." And it was later. We're so grateful. So grateful. She had quite a life. So thank you.
I'm going to play when Mom was in Texas, and one of the many times they had pretty much told us she wasn't going to make it, and then the Lord would spare her once again, and she got to take a trip to Florida to see her family and go to the beach with her sister. Sorry, this is hard. I have a voicemail from her, and I'm just going to play just a few seconds of it for you. But as you listen to it, I imagine that she's been having over a week now, and imagine these very words have probably been spoken in regard to where she is now. So.
Thank you, River. Can you hear the roar of that ocean? It's sunny, it's beautiful, and we're on the beach.
Thank you. We talked a lot about how she's in a better place. We tend to focus on the word better, but I've thought about it a lot about the word place. And that she's in a very real place, as real as this place. It's very, very real. It's not just something we talk about. It's a very real place. And, well, this seems long and hard. Eternity is awfully long. And we sure love to be there with all of you. We will see her again someday. She's walking just fine, and she is better, but she's in a good, good place.